Well, while we're waiting for the process to get started, let me just give you a little bit of background about myself. I've been a middle school teacher in the United States, in Providence, Rhode Island. I've been a high school teacher in Chester, Pennsylvania, and in Philadelphia. And when I taught middle school in Providence, Rhode Island, I was a volunteer teacher at a maximum security prison at night, just for relief from my middle school activities during the day. But I learned some very important things about that teaching experience in the prison because many of the inmates had been students in the middle school that I was teaching at. The first thing that I learned is many of the inmates had problems in reading. The second thing I learned is many of the inmates, the way they got attention was by getting into trouble. And the third thing is they had problems relating to authority. And so I would teach in the prison at night, and then I would go back to my class the next day, and guess what? I had reading problems. The way they got attention was by getting into trouble, and they had difficulties relating to adults or to authority. And so my whole process of learning about behavior and teaching and learning, classroom climate, school climate, really was driven by my own necessities to be a better teacher. And while I was teaching in the middle school, I was also getting my doctorate in education. And so the two together, I think, led me into both understanding the research behind a lot of this, as well as what's going on in the real world of the classroom. A couple of, I think, critical points. First of all, I did a study with a colleague from Canada on what does the research say about classroom management programs. We cataloged 900 programs. It's in a book called The Handbook for Research on Classroom Management. Out of the 900 programs, we only had 40 that had any research at all. And out of the 40, only 4 or 5 dealt with the whole school. So a lot of what's going on in the name of classroom management, behavior and learning and so forth, in the States particularly, really has no research to support them. Or if they do, it's at one level of research, like elementary school, but then they try to extrapolate it to high school, and it doesn't. Or they try to relate it to early childhood, and it doesn't. So this whole process, I think, is fraught with problems in terms of what do the studies show about these things. The other thing that we found is about 20% of the teachers in the United States that go through teacher preparation never go into the classroom. And out of the remaining 80%, about 40% of them, half of them actually, are gone by their third year. So the whole concept of preparing teachers for a profession has become less and less professional. There's an urgency. There's such an urgency in terms of replacing teachers. There's a huge teacher shortage in the United States, particularly in the science, the math, special education, early childhood. But in fact, there's no shortage at all. There's more than enough certified teachers to teach every student in the United States. They just don't want to go into the classroom. And at one of the schools, I have 10 schools here in the UK that are using a model that I had developed called consistency management and cooperative discipline. And I remember when we first started with one of the schools, the deputy head was off to the Bahamas. And I said, well, that's neat. I want to get that job. He says, no, I'm recruiting 20 teachers for our building. So and I know in Europe, I have had schools I've worked with in the Netherlands and also in Italy. This past year I was in Austria. Western countries are having trouble providing good teaching professionals because of both low pay, low esteem, low support. So the question is, how do we build a professional educator? And I think that's sort of where I want to talk about a little bit. The first thing is knowledge and experience with children and youth. We treat every new professional coming in as if they all have the same experiential level with youth and children. And what I looked at here, whoops, there we go. We'll do F5. What I have found is, for example, you have some people coming into the profession that are parents. They've been an older sibling and have worked with their younger children in their family, their brothers and sisters. They've been youth leaders, after-school tutors, camp counselors, during-school mentors, testing coaches, sports coaches, daycare teachers, daycare assistants. When I'm currently teaching undergraduates, 35 undergraduates who are going into the teaching profession. And I asked them, what are the experiences you've had? At least half of them have had experiences in those categorical areas. The other half have had none. They have literally had no experiences with children or youth. And yet what happens is we put them in the same teacher preparation field experiences as if they're all had the same experience. And so one of the things that I've discovered in terms of preparing teachers, and one of the questions you have to, I think, ask yourselves, is how do we build a developmental placement activities in schools, building off what they already know or what they don't know. And so one of the things that I'd suggested is we try to get early on in their careers to be tutors in the grammar or secondary or in the primary schools. So they begin having more communication and dialogue and interaction with youth. That they become a teacher assistant for 3 hours per week for 15 weeks as tacked on to one of their courses. That they teach summer school for students in academic need for maybe a low salary, but giving them a lot of experience. To assist with learning at our sports summer camps and having meaningful practical practice experience throughout their coursework and not just sort of blocked at the very end. So one of the areas that I think has really been missing from our whole discussion is the whole issue of knowledge and experience and the relationship of that to field experience itself. Now, future teachers' prior experience with children, I really think we need to be able to have what is the next thing is a better placement of our students. When I